Welcome to the Retreat Leaders Podcast, your sanctuary with retreat experts, where we spill the tea on retreat success. Here we dive into crafting transformational guest experiences, talk about how to avoid pitfalls, and unlock marketing secrets. Whether you're a seasoned guru or a budding enthusiast, we've got the inside scoop for you. Join us as we learn how to flourish in this magical world of retreats. Hi, guys. Welcome back to the Retreat Leaders Podcast. This is Shannon, and I have got a lovely guest on today. And this is my first video and audio. I think you knew that. I hope you knew that we're doing video too now. And so welcome, Nona Djavid. I said that wrong.
That's okay. You're the only person to get it wrong. I'm kidding.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. That was a good one. That was a good response. Well, Nona, could you tell us your last name and welcome to the show?
Yes. Thank you for having me. My last name is Djavid, and it gets mispronounced all the time. So I respond to almost anything. So it's all good. I'm happy to be here. I'm excited to share.
Oh, thank you. My last name does too. Not to try to minimize the importance of names, but I get that all the time as well. So I apologize, but I'm so excited that you are here. I want you first just to tell us a little bit about who you are and what brought you to what you do today.
Man, we have such a short period of time. So I did not take you back to like 1981 I was born, but I think for the sake of the conversation today, based on what I think would be really valuable for your audience, I'll share a quick story about how I got started and what was the sort of emotional addiction behind my success in business and entrepreneurship, and how scarcity played a big role in that, and what happened, and then how I got over it, and how here we are today. So I moved to the United States when I was 16 years old. And when we moved here, my parents, they packed up their entire life savings, sold the house, sold the cars. And we were like middle upper class family in Iran. And I was 16 years old. We moved here, and immediately we're at poverty line, because obviously coming from the Middle East and coming from a really a third world country, and the money exchange rate. So here I am, 16 years old, and all of a sudden I have nothing. I do not fit in high school. I was thrown into high school 2 weeks later. I didn't speak the language. It's just to say I didn't fit in is not even cutting it. So one of the ways as a 16-year-old that I thought, at the time, I think all of us, I think at least female entrepreneurs will relate to this, is I wanted to look like everybody else. I wanted to buy the clothes, and I wanted to, have the things, and I didn't have the money to do it. So that became my motivation at 16. So I started my first business. I started tutor the kids that were the next door neighbor, because I was good at math. And even though my English wasn't good, I could communicate in math language. It was easier for me to do that. And so I started tutor the kids next door, and then I started to get referrals. And then I was like, this doesn't work so well, because I need leverage. I only have an hour a night after I do my own homework to tutor these kids. So I started to hire the kids out of my high school who were good at math and take a cut of this.
Oh my gosh, I love this.
It was so funny, but it was, looking back, it's like such an innocent thing that I just got started and I did, but it really was the seed for this desire for entrepreneurship. And more importantly, the emotional addiction behind it was really scarcity. I wasn't coming it wasn't out of love, like, oh my gosh, I'd love to. I mean, I wanted to help people, definitely. That's always been the case for me in anything I've ever done. My previous career, I was a chiropractor for 10 years. So I've always had this feeling of wanting to help people. But when it came down to money and money mindset, initially it began with scarcity underneath it all. Now, fast forward, I had this underground tutoring company all the way. I went to Berkeley, I went to chiropractic school, and I still kind of continued with that company and had it really paid for a lot of my education. And once I graduated, I opened up a business, a brick and mortar business, and I went fully deep into entrepreneurship and I did really well for myself. However, 3 years into business, so here I am in my early 20s at the time, I completely burnt out. Completely burnt out. And it wasn't because I wasn't successful in business. It wasn't because I didn't have fulfillment in life. I had a child, I had a family coming, forming a family. I was married, my business was doing great. I had like 13 employees. I was almost at $1 million mark. Yet I was completely devastated, felt like I was a slave to my practice and a couple of other brick and mortars I'd started at the time, and just did not have the freedom for anything. And I do remember having a God moment where, in the depth of that trauma, that sadness that I was experiencing, because it was very conflicting. On the surface, I had all the things checked off: get married, have a nice job, or start a business, go to school, all the things. And then when you really got into it, I was just empty inside, and I built this success around me, yet I was experiencing so much isolation and, of course, postpartum. To make up the long story short, in those moments, I had a realization that all of the success I had built was purely out of scarcity. I didn't want to experience what I had experienced in that transition. I didn't want to end up like so and so and so and so. It was a lot of fear-based activities that I was doing. Now, it served me for the time being, but it wasn't enough to give me fulfillment. As a matter of fact, I was in the middle of a burnout. Ultimately, I sold the practice. I spent quite a bit of time, really dark night of the soul, if you would, and I dove really deep into neurology of rewiring my brain. I dove really deep into universal truths, into quantum physics, into ancient wisdom. And then in the process, so good. In that process, I was able to rewire, create some guidelines for myself. I did this to heal myself, get myself out of that situation, and create the life that I get to live, and the business that I get to have, that has so much freedom of course, finances as entrepreneurs, but also time and energy. But that wasn't possible, wouldn't have been possible unless I went from scarcity driven actions all the way to creating and wiring abundance and ease and fun with my business, instead of hustle and work hard and struggle.
Man, there's so much about your story that's super juicy. I'm really loving the fact that you pivoted. Granted, you might have gotten to that point of burnout, whatever, but you pivoted, and so many people don't. Nona, so many people stay in that space of they just show up every day, do the work, do the thing, collect the check, and you know what I mean, and just keep going. It reminds me a little bit. So I went through my master's program to be a mental health therapist, and that was my dream. I mean, really, that was my dream for so long. Was I went straight into business when I was very young, like you. I was like, we'll call it the hustler. I was in business. It took me a long time to get through my bachelor's, and then a long time to get through my master's. And then I finally get to do what I had dreamed of doing, right? And worked so hard and got through the internships and all that stuff. And when I actually started practicing and I had my own practice, I fucking hated it. And it was not what I expected. I felt completely burnt out every day. I was exhausted mentally and emotionally. I was taking all of my clients' heaviness home with me and keeping it on my person, like all these things that I just did not even fathom was going to be the case. And the pivoting was hard. And so I can appreciate that pivot, because you worked so hard, I'm sure, to build that practice. You had all that education, and not that none of it's wasted, right? None of that experience is wasted. It's never wasted. But to be able to pivot and say, you know what, that life isn't for me. I thought it was, and it's not. And then to pick up and go. So I'm just loving everything about your story, because it hopefully tells people that you might be in that space of feeling burnt out, or, oh my gosh, I thought this was my dream, or I thought this was the right path, and I guess I just have to stay here. And I feel like, no, tune in, tune in to that you don't have to stay there. But also, go ahead.
No, I was just going to add to what you said, like the disappointing of others, and sometimes, and I've gotten better at this because now I've been teaching quantum leaps for 10 years, over a decade. Now I recognize how do I quantum leap? If there's an area in my life where I feel stuck, whether it's my relationship, me as a mom, me, my business, what are the things that I can do to quantum leap and make it faster, instead of where in my past version, I was the person who would just go do the thing, collect the checks, and look like the rest of the Matrix.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, so interesting. Such good stuff there. So that brings you to today, where
Mhm.
you help others do kind of put into practice what you learned, especially over the last 10 years and what you continue to build and learn from. And one of the things that you and I chatted about right before we started recording is one of the biggest obstacles for retreat leaders is really it's what their money mindset is. It's the blocks that has to do with money and
Mhm.
financial gain and profitability and this either fear or block or whatever. And what ends up happening is they manifest exactly what they're afraid of, or they never reach their full potential because they lowball the shit out of themselves. I mean, they just do. And whether they tie it to some belief around, well, we shouldn't make a profit as these healers or space holders, or they, whatever story they're telling themselves, and it ends up hurting them energetically, in my opinion, not to mention financially, but energetically, because they're providing so much and they're getting so little in return, because money is an energetic exchange. At least that's what I believe. And then also they're hurting the industry. And so I'd love for you just to kind of share you could share your thoughts about that, because I know you also host retreats, which I'll love to chat about in just a moment. But your thoughts about it, and what are some things that these retreat leaders could do if they're really struggling with financial aspect of hosting retreats?
The very first thing, first of all, let me say that that is not unique to retreat owners. It is unique to helpers and healers and coaches. It might not be unique to them, but it's very common. If you're in a field that you feel you want to help other people, there is always that dilemma of the value exchange, like you're talking about. And and then the other thing I will say about it is, by nature, in our neurology, we're actually wired for self-criticism, right? We're wired for lack of self-worth. And I'll tell you why. Back in the caveman days, we went to go look for berries. And if we picked the wrong berry, we would die. The entire tribe would die. Our children would die. I mean, you can lose a whole generation by picking the wrong berry, right? So we are wired for self-criticism. Our nervous system, our neurology is wired for self-criticism. So when I ask people and I say, when was the last time you self-criticized? I could ask myself this. Well, just before we started this podcast, I was like, do I look right? What am I wearing? Do I have my lip gloss on? And so it could be an hour ago, it could be this morning. If you don't have a ritual that kind of taps you outside of that self-criticism, then it was probably an hour ago. It was probably just this morning. But if I asked you, when was the last time that you sat down and you evaluated the worth and the value that you bring to the table as a retreat owner or facilitator, you're like, what are you talking about? That sounds like either a selfish practice, or I have no concept of that, right? And this is an exercise that I teach inside of my community and to my students all the time: is sit down, write down each of the roles that you have, and journal and contemplate on the worth that you not only validly and factually bring to the table currently, but also the value, the possible, I call it the possibilities game. What's possible for your retreaters, for people who are participating in your retreats? What's possible for them? A mom that comes to my retreat that wants to start her business or wants to 10x her business, the possibility of the shift in generation, the ripple effect on her relationship with her husband, on her relationship with her children, on the ease, on the way she shows up as a mom, on the relationship of the children in their intimate relationship in the future, because now the mom has gotten over the money blocks or has set a clear vision or whatever the case is. I play this game where I go, what's possible for my students? And I do this for myself. And I go, this is what I'm bringing to the table. These are the values. And this is also what's possible for them. This is my self-evaluation of the value that I bring to the table. There's nothing selfish about this. It's just a nervous system process to make sure that you understand the value you bring to the table. You do that enough, your relationships will change. You do that enough time and you get in a practice of seeing your own value and your own self-worth. All of a sudden, people who are paying low ticket might drop off. And all of a sudden, you might have this urge to want to charge more for your retreats. And and I also think there's a level of nervous system safety that does not exist at higher levels of income. And I know this because I've done it all. I've had the low level stuff. I've had the high level stuff. I have a high level mastermind right now that I run. So your nervous system has to be really comfortable at that next level. And I think to give a practical tool, because I always love something that's tangible, is maybe getting super clear on the vision that you have, not just for the one retreat, but for the business as a whole. And this is the most important part, the life that this business is going to give you. Because those two things, they go hand in hand. This business for retreats or coaches or whatever it is that you're doing goes together with the kind of life that you want to live. If I'm hustling and putting in 40 hours and thinking and working on my business, then I don't have the life with my children. I don't have the presence. I don't have the travel. I don't have the level of contribution into the world that I want to have. So those two things go hand in hand. And having that vision and mentally rehearsing that vision over and over gives your nervous system safety at that vision instead of being hooked on struggle and hard work and hustle and having that be your definition of success. Because let me tell you, I see entrepreneurs and business owners I have a client of mine just exited a company at 100 million and still over here, still in this city. And that is no way of living. That's no way of living. There's no fulfillment there. Now, you might be like, oh, I would be really happy with 100 million. Listen, first we got to get over the scarcity that's over here at 7 figures, 6 figures, wherever you might be. And a juicier way to get there would be to unblock the money mindset stuff so that when you do get to the vision that you have, then you can totally, thoroughly enjoy every moment of it.
Hey guys, it's Shannon. If you've been dreaming about hosting retreats or taking your existing retreats to the next level, let's make it happen together. Join me August 22nd through 24th for an unforgettable retreat leader mastermind experience. It's going to be located on my ranch in the beautiful Texas Hill Country. Here's what you'll get when you hang out with me and an amazing group of like-minded leaders. Learn my top strategies for marketing, business operations, and selling out your retreats. Connect with other passionate retreat leaders in a high-vibe, supportive circle. Recharge, relax, refresh, and soak up all the inspiration our ranch and our staff have to offer because you deserve it. This isn't just another workshop. It's a chance to step fully into your role as a heart-centered leader while building a business that thrives. I'll be right there with you, sharing everything I've learned from the years of hosting retreats and running my own venue. Spots are super limited, so grab yours now at profitwithpurposemastermind.com. Let's create retreats that transform lives, starting with yours. That's profitwithpurposemastermind.com. I can't wait to see you there. Yes, amen, hallelujah, praise be. All of the things. This is awesome stuff. If someone was struggling and they are having a really hard time with the money mindset, scarcity, space, is that something that you can help them with?
Yeah, I mean, part of one of my communities that really started after that dark night of the soul, I decided I was going to focus on the things that I love to do the most, right? I love a great transformational retreat. I love reading and learning, and I love sharing and teaching. So I just started to do that. And then it started to become monetized. So I have this whole membership and this whole community where on weekly basis, I'm teaching people how to shift their energetics around, it's actually around three areas. One is wealth. So money. And believe it or not, that's probably set because we survey the group all the time. Guess where people need the most amount of help? In that area. Because guess where most people, we're taught you have to struggle to make money. Money doesn't grow on trees. There's no ease. Da, da, da. Anyways, there's three areas we focus on: wealth, which is contribution, lifestyle. The second area is health, and not in that order, not in any order, but also connection to yourself, which all of these things are related. If you don't have that self-value and self-worth, then that is your wealth, your retreat pricing, your business is going to be a reflection of that. And so connection with yourself, connection with your higher self, whatever you may believe in, connection with your significant other, with your children, people that are important to you, and your clients as well.
That's beautiful. I love it. Okay. Well, we'll have that information linked in the show notes in case anybody wants to check that out. I also want to chat about your retreats. It looks like you've got one coming up in April. Tell us about it.
Yes, I do 3 or 4 retreats a year, and we theme them out. So they have different themes for the year. We heavily focus on creating a vision, shifting the nervous system. So it is immersive. People are getting, into actually like getting up and using their body and utilizing some embodiment technology to be able to embody that next level that has the worth, right? Embody the next level that has ease around the business that they've created, whatever the case might be. So we do a lot of that inside of the retreats. And then what I love about the retreats is I always have some unique experiences like we'll do. And this is not new in this space. Everybody listening to this is like, well, I do that and then I do it better. So, because we're in this space, but what I love about my retreats is bringing on unique experiences locally in the area. So in Santa Fe, as you can imagine, if you haven't been, Shannon, it's just this beautiful, magical place, kind of like Sedona, but I almost feel like even more powerful. So bring in local healers or coaches and that offers something that is unique to that area. And so we have our participants not only experience that, but we integrate it with what we are teaching. So by the time they leave, they have had a complete shift in their identity that is anchored in that experience that they get to have too.
Hey, it's Shannon here. I'm just popping in really quickly to ask a big favor. Would you pause the show and go review it for us? Please. Reviews really help us to be able to get more guests and more experts on the show to help you transform your retreats. So if you wouldn't mind pausing and leaving us a review, that would mean everything. And if you're not already subscribed, do that too. That's one of my favorite things. I also try to do the same. I think it's really just a beautiful practice, and it's kind of we'll call it universal love, because you're really bringing in some cultural flair, some cultural love, you're celebrating them, and you're also financially rewarding that cultural area that you are visiting and sharing in and partaking in. And so I love everything about that. I really try to do the same when I'm hosting retreats outside of my ranch, just because I feel like it's that universal love. That is just really cool. And I love too, I just want to share this part too. Nona, your retreats, I love how you have them positioned. So there's different ways that you can do retreats. Those that are listening obviously know this, just like you said. One way is it's all inclusive. You're managing all the details. You rented the place or a house or the resort or whatever. And then there's the way that you're doing it too, which I love, which is I'm providing all the things and the transformation and the energy and the magic, but you still got to book, your accommodations. And there might even be some meals that you have to provide as well, which I love, by the way. I think that this is a beautiful way to really be able to focus on the experience and the transformation and not get too caught up into the logistics. Tell me about that and why you chose to go that route.
I do both of those. So when I do retreats, for example, when I do something in Tulum, every year we host a retreat in Tulum. Those are in the price range of $7,500 to $10,000. And those do include lodging and food and the experiences. When I do them somewhere like in Santa Fe, what I learned was it for me, what brings the joy in me would be to focus on the transformation. And then usually what we do is we actually just give people a couple of options for lodging. And we set them free to go figure out, explore the area, because I want it to be a free form. They have enough time to integrate. So I don't need everybody to be together at all times and doing all the same things. And it gives me the freedom and the creativity to just focus on a really intense program during the times that we do have that. So our hours really for the retreat are just in the morning. So I teach probably about 8:30 to 12 or so. We let them loose for lunch. Now, I will say the way the retreats are set up for me is I do offer either dinner or something special with my VIPs. Those would be like my private clients, or if somebody purchases a VIP, then they get to come to dinner. So that's the only outside of the retreat space that I am sort of responsible for curating. But I found that was really, it's a better space for me than, figuring out the logistics. But we do have some spaces, Tulum and Bali, where we've worked with in the past where it's just easier because it's farther away and you host everything and they take care of everything and we just kind of hop in.
Yeah, I still see a theme there, and I'm loving this theme because there's not a one size fits all, is what I guess I'm trying to say. And I feel like anyway, that the approach that you've taken really allows you to focus on the transformational part and the learning and the teaching and the shared space. Because even in Tulum or Bali, like you mentioned, there's still a they that handles a lot of the logistics, right? So you get to essentially, there's so much more to this. Trust me, I know that. But when you're there, the actual retreat, you get to just focus on the teaching and not worry that there's something wrong with your room or, you know what I mean? Like all those details that can sometimes bog you down. And it's just one of the most beautiful ways, I think, in hosting retreats.
I think the way to success in retreat business is, or really honestly in any business, a good philosophy to have is like, do what you love the most. I mean, some parts of it we don't love, so you could shift your energy around it. But listen, if my way that doesn't resonate, and you love the way that you're doing it, that's where you're going to get the most profitability, the most transformation, you'll have the most certainty, and people would get the most amount of results.
Yes, totally could. I just agree 100%. And there are some people out there, and I've worked with them who actually do love all the logistics and they want the entire thing under their control. And I think that's also beautiful. But again, one size fits all, or one size does not fit all. And it really does come down to what feels comfortable to you, what brings you joy. You also mentioned something, Nona, that I just absolutely adore, and that is you really wanted to focus when you got out of that dark space. You really wanted to focus on what is it that you love. Like specifically, what is it you love? Do that. And then the money followed, which, yes, I can't say that enough. Yes, yes, yes. Focusing on what you love and doing that really well, that's where the magic happens.
Can I say something about that?
Please.
Because I used to hear that just do what you love. I mean, we hear it all the time.
All the time.
And it didn't really sink in until I actually took that as a practice. Like, I'm sitting here in this moment having this beautiful conversation with Shannon. Is this something that I love? Right? In this moment, literally. I'm at a restaurant with my friends having a glass of wine and about to order dinner, pausing and being like, what do I actually want to experience now? I'm with my children playing Lego, and am I present enough to determine, is this what I want to continue doing with them? Or is this what I want to say? Or is this what? So being present in the moment, I mean, the big stuff is one thing, like do what you love. And then of course there's all these other factors, like what makes money and how does it make money? And I got to feed my family, all the things. But the practice is in the minute little decision after decision in your daily life. And I think especially for women, being present with what it is that actually brings us joy. I think especially after maybe late 30s and into the 40s, that's kind of where it became really clear. Wait a second, I got to really in the moment make a decision and get familiar with what what do I love to do?
That's a really good point. I can't tell you how many people don't even know what they love anymore. And then being not afraid to say no to things that they don't love, and that it's a no is a complete sentence. There's just, that's it. No, thank you. And so, yeah, I love this so much. I like to tell my husband, he laughs about it, but we both recognize the truth in it. When we're doing fun things that we love, whether it's on vacation or a part of our work or whatever it is, like we're truly like, oh my gosh, we're aligned in pure joy. It's amazing the business that naturally happens. I tell him all the time when we're on vacation, we make more money on vacation than any other time. I'm like, we should just always be on vacation, honey. But it is an energetic alignment, because when you are aligned in that joy and that love and that openness, call it woo-woo, I don't care what you call it. It literally signals to the universe. I'm in receiving mode. I'm ready. I'm excited. And it happens. And so it's something that I try to really, really think about in my day-to-day life too, and try to outsource the things that I don't love. Because like you said, there are parts of business. It is what it is. Like not everything is just rainbows and sugar.
Mm-hmm. Very true.
So I love it. Okay, well, I'm going to close this out by giving you an opportunity to tell everybody where they can find you. I will have it in the show notes, but some people just want to hear it and then go for it. So where can we find you?
Absolutely. I love connecting with people just on social media or anywhere they can find me. But these days I'm spending a lot of time on Instagram. I share a lot of just free resources on Instagram. And if they happen to be listening to this conversation, something resonates with them, if they come to my page and send me a DM and say, hey, I listened to you with Shannon. I would love to gift you a guide that kind of lays out the steps of a quantum leap. If you're looking forward to unblocking from, the money stuff or relationship stuff, love and money, they're oftentimes related too. So anything you want to unstuck in your life and you're looking for a quantum leap, I have a guide. You just have to send me a DM and I'll get it over to you. It's free.
Beautiful. Thank you. I will have her Instagram linked in the show notes so you can find her there. Thank you so much for being a guest on the show. And I look forward to maybe meeting you in person sometime soon.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for listening to the Retreat Leaders Podcast. Learn more at www.theretreatranch.com. See you next time.